So we're here with Carson Palmer, and I first of all have to tell one story about Carson Palmer. So this was 8 years ago, and I really was dying to do a story on a week in the life of an NFL quarterback. So I asked quite a few NFL quarterbacks. The third one I asked was Carson Palmer, and he was interested in doing it. He was the quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals in 2015, and he was interested in doing it, but Bruce Arians really didn't want to do it. He didn't want it done. He thought it would give a little bit too much away. But I went to see Bruce Arians one afternoon in training camp. Or no, it wasn't in training camp. You guys were in West Virginia. That's right. Practicing between two games back east. Yeah. And so I knew that I was going to be in good shape because it was very late afternoon. The workday was done that day, and Bruce was having, I think, a Hennessy or something. And I said, okay, let's just talk for a little while and let's have another Hennessy, And by that time, I convinced him it's really a good idea. But the reason why it was so much fun is that Carson Palmer cared about this. And I think you cared because you devoted a lot of energy. I went to your house on a Tuesday night when the game plan came in, and it was a big moment when the game plan came in. You started taking notes, and the whole week, all the way up to Saturday night in the hotel, you played in Cleveland, and you won the game. But it was so interesting, the minutia that goes into preparing for an NFL game. And the way I sold you on doing this is that one day I said, you probably just want to sort of look back and say, what was a week really like? Maybe your kids will want to know one day. But how much of that do you miss after football? The incredible minutia that you have to master, that it seems impossible on Tuesday that you're going to get to know everything, particularly about a team you don't play very often. At that time you're in Arizona. It's not like you're with the Bengals and you're playing Cleveland. But how much of that did you end up really missing when you stopped playing?
Well, a couple things. One, that was 8 years ago, which is mind-boggling. Yeah. Two, I was your third choice. You didn't tell me that. I thought I was your.
I was not your. You were not my third choice.
I was the third.
No,
so
I asked. Well, I asked Brady, number one, and it was Peyton's last year.
Okay.
And so I thought, yeah.
I've never been happier to be the third choice behind those two guys. And so
you weren't the third choice though, because quite honestly, I'm telling you. You would have been, if somebody else said yes, I would have to weigh who was going to be best. And I knew you wanted to do it, that it wasn't going to be like going to, no, I'm serious. It wasn't going to be like going to the dentist. But anyway.
No, I mean, to your question about just, you said, a good reason to do it is so I wouldn't forget, all the little things that go into it. I don't know that I can forget all the little things that go into it because athletes, we're creatures of habit. We want to do the same thing. As soon as one little thing gets thrown off, we're in a tizzy. And so I don't know that I'll ever forget. I can still go through my Tuesday from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed, my Wednesday, the schedule. I can go through the 8:15 run install meeting, the 9:15 water break, the 10. I don't know that I'll ever get that out of my head. But I was so happy I did it years after because I would get bumped into on the street. I'd be doing an interview with somebody and it'd be on the air and they go, I loved that article that Peter King wrote. Yeah. And so that's why I'm so fond of that time we spent together, that week we spent together, was the appreciation that the fan base got and that the folks that didn't have access, that you opened up and I opened up that access to. Because people just don't know what to think. They don't know. You play on Sunday, you practice a couple times during the week, and you watch film. No, you went through every step, every detail, and literally hundreds of times I've had random people stop me or send a message on Instagram thanking me and you for doing that interview because you gave a glimpse, and with obviously your wizardry and your delivery and the way you write, it opened up people's eyes in a way that they didn't know that that's what actually happened. And they have kids, and they have breakfast, and they have school drop-offs, and they have a game plan comes in. What's that like? And you went through all those steps and illuminated a whole nother world that happens in the NFL. And I get thanked about all the time, and all I did was answer questions.
You opened your life. You open your life, which is hard to do, because these weeks are not weeks that you necessarily want to go on display. You're working. This is not. Chris Spielman once said, when I asked him if I could spend a day with him during a season, he goes, "Hey, my life isn't the friggin' NFL today." You know, he just, you know, it was his business, but it's a little bit of a sacrifice to sort of give things away, which you did.
And every moment is accounted for. There is no waste. Like during a game week, I don't waste 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't. If it's not either helping with my recovery, or helping me with my mental state, which is being with my kids, or helping me with my preparation, whether it be film watching, working on footwork, working on reads, working on breaking down a player, I didn't have 15 minutes to waste. No NFL quarterback has 15 minutes to waste. If they're wasting 15 minutes, that turns into 30 minutes. They're probably not in the NFL for very long. So you find a way to be as efficient with every minute, every moment during a season. And you know, you didn't take away any efficiency from me. You didn't get in the way. You snuck in and sat on my couch in my office where I was like, and you were really quiet, and you didn't interrupt, you didn't ask questions. So you didn't take away from my prep that week. And I knew the pro that you are, and you've been around this game forever, and you understand how important each moment is. So it was a really easy opportunity, and I'm really glad that we did that, and you talked me into it. And I'm glad you waited for that lubrication to kick in on BA late in the day. Another veteran move by you. Had you asked him at 8 a.m. in the morning, 100% of the time he would have said absolutely not, but you waited to that right time during the day to ask him.
I told him, you know how he had up in his office in Tempe all of the plays written out longhand on the whiteboards, okay, and you're going to choose plays and all that stuff. My video guy and who did the work on this, he went and he clouded every word. He had to go over every word and cloud it out. And so then Bruce was okay, because he was afraid that you were going to be able to see a lot of the wording of the plays. And I really only talked about the wording of the one play, you know, that I wrote about at length. But anyway, I don't know if I ever even told you that, but I do appreciate it, because I love stories like that. If you're not curious about what a quarterback goes through for 6 days before a football game, why do you even do this? Okay. Here's the one other thing about your kind of history that interests me. When you finished playing in Arizona, you decided to move to Idaho, and you once told me that it was really kind of for the life of your family and for the life of your children. And when you have kids who are very, very young, and you have a lot of money, and there's a lot of privilege, and you're famous and all that, it can really affect them. You decided to go a different direction. Why?
A number of reasons. One, I was at a point in my life where I'd missed so much with my kids. You saw my schedule. I got to kiss them goodnight most nights during the season, and I wanted to go. And I wanted to get away from football. And I had a number of opportunities to do TV stuff and just different media stuff. And it involves traveling and being away. And so I wanted to get away. We had lived in Phoenix, in Cincinnati, in Oakland, and in bigger towns where everywhere my kids went, Dad was a topic. Pictures, autographs, going out to dinner, all those things. And we just wanted to get away. And you know, we were at a point where our 4 kids were really like doing fun things, sports, and starting to play tackle football and all the things. And we just wanted to get out of a big city. We wanted to get somewhere where I wasn't going to be the focal point of their game or their school play or their horseback riding competition. And we moved to the mountains in Idaho and raised them away from iPads and TV and Netflix and all these and cell phones and all these things, and just in nature, and they go to a school where they're outside all the time. They're learning things that they don't really need. How to survive in the in the wilderness. You don't really need to know that, but it's pretty cool to know. Yeah. I could be lost in the woods in freezing temperature and build myself a Quincy hut and sustain myself on these 4 food groups and can do this to get water. Like, we just wanted to raise them in an environment like that, and it's been amazing. And on top of it, I'm a little bit selfishly, I love to hunt and fish, and I live in the hunting and fly fishing mecca of this planet, and so that was also a bonus. But really, it's just been an escape to get away. As I kept, I got traded a handful of times into bigger cities, and they were, in the spotlight of being a quarterback's kid, and we just wanted them at this, portion of their life, these years of 6 to say 15, just to get away and do something different, and it's been amazing.
2 other things, and then I'll get to your level select. But I want to know, when you watch Joe Burrow, do you watch with admiration? Do you watch with envy? Or do you ever say, I wish I had all the tools when I was the quarterback of the Bengals that he has as the quarterback of the Bengals?
I don't watch with envy. I watch with 100% admiration. But I kind of feel like I maybe kickstarted some of that. I mean, I was watching after last Super Bowl just like Joe was watching. What are they going to do about this offensive line? Are they going to cross their fingers and hope they get back to the Super Bowl again? They went against the Bengals script. They went and they replaced 60% of the offensive line. They spent tens of millions of dollars. As opposed to being happy we got to the Super Bowl, they said, we want to win it, and we're going to spend. And so I think maybe I had a little bit to do with that, with my situations there, my frustrations when we got close and didn't do that. And so, and nobody was watching it more closely than Joe. Joe's about to sign another contract, and he wanted to see how committed the organization is to winning. And he has to be extremely excited about the future and extremely excited about signing a contract extension, because he knows after the last 2 years of free agency moves that the Bengals have made, the prior year to the Super Bowl on defense, they went and got a bunch of defenders. They went and revamped the entire offensive line. Their Achilles heel that prevented them from winning last year. They went and spent and were aggressive and did it the right way. And they proved to Joe that is a long-term place for him, because they are willing and committed to win. So it's great to see. I love it. I think Joe's as good as it gets when it comes to quarterback play in the NFL, and I've been getting heat for it saying that since I got here today, because everybody wants to talk about Patrick Mahomes, and he's great.
But here's the thing. You said this on your brother's podcast. That was a great discussion of quarterback play. I really, really loved it. But you were serious about Joe Burrow. You think he is the best.
I think he's the best quarterback in the league. And I like I said, I'm getting heat for it. And that's not a knock at any other quarterback. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes isn't a generational talent. He absolutely is. But nobody plays the game with the poise that Joe plays with. And I know he's got great players around him and a really good defense, and there's arguments every which way, who's got more talent and better coaching and better play calling and this and that. But at the end of the day, I think this game is won in the pocket, standing in the pocket, maneuvering and manipulating the pocket to get to the soft spot, to deliver the ball accurately and on time where the defense is dictating that ball go. And I think when it comes down to it, and it's a hostile environment, and the weather's adverse, and you lost your left tackle, and your headset goes out, and so-and-so just dropped one on the last possession on 3rd and 8, he plays with more poise, more maturity, and has done it week in, week out, week 3, week 6, week 14, playoffs, round 1, round 2. He consistently has done it from year 1 when he was playing his rookie year like a 7 or 8 year vet. He just plays with that maturity and that poise unlike any other quarterback in the league right now.
A lot of guys come to the Super Bowl and they represent products that I'm pretty sure they don't use. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing. But you actually use what you're here to promote. What is it? Why do you love it?
Level Select CBD. It's a plant-based. It's a plant-based product in multiple forms. There's sprays, there's roll-ons, there's gels. I actually started using this talking with a buddy of mine that started the company the day I retired. I didn't want to have another surgery. I didn't want to take Vicodin or any pain pills. I was scared of all that, and my buddy had this new product, and I've got a lot of buddies that have new products, but this one was legit. I've been using it ever since. That was 5 years ago now.
And what does it do to help you?
It takes away aches and pains. I've got an issue in my knee. I've got an issue in my back. At some point, I'm going to need a surgery to repair it. I don't want to have that surgery right now. I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. because it's aching. And this is something I use every day. I can still coach my kids' football team. I can coach my daughter's basketball team. I can still go fish. I can be skiing, whatever it is. I can stay active. I can still go to the gym when I want to go to the gym. But it's something I use. You have told me about your knee pains from your sumo squats you're doing with the kettlebells. This is something that will work. It's not something that you need to spend a month and then it'll start working. This is something that you use the first time and you're like, oh, that ache that was in my knee is now gone. So levelselectcbd.com, you can log on right now to the website. Promo code Carson50, 50% off everything on the website.
Carson50?
Carson50 gets you 50% off.
You got to love that. Carson Palmer, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter. Good to see you as always.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.